Joining us now, we have the Honorable Mia Amor Mortley, our Prime Minister, who has joined this noble team. And, ma'am, we're going to pass it on over to you.
No, thank you very much. I really want to salute all of you who are here this afternoon. I want to salute the thousands of Barbadians who are watching this. Today has been a day of consultation for me. We met earlier with persons related to the kind of approach that we will take on our borders. We've also met with others. I have another team meeting to reinforce the food security. We are going to be measured and do right by the people of this country. And I walked into this room and remembered that I hadn't been in here for 19 years, 20 years. And it brought back all of the memories, Sandra, of the messaging that sometimes you hear me talking about in cabinet all the time. And the first thing I want to say is that Gabby has a line in his song, Culture, carrying the child by granny, that is we culture. That song is so powerful because it captures the elements of who we are as a people. And I think, Richard, you were at the last meeting we had from vendors to hoteliers, from business titans and magnates to PSV operators, to taxi men, to labor unions, to private sector leaders. And I left that meeting understanding that there really is something special about being Barbadian. Barbadians have a different outlook, and it is perhaps why sometimes others in the region may poke at us. But the truth is that we tend to be reflective and measured. And I'll give you a very powerful example. Everybody accused people yesterday of hoarding. Bajans weren't hoarding yesterday. Bajans understood from the night before and the news yesterday that we have a battle to face, and that they were getting their supplies to batten down for the long haul. The difficulty that we have, and the reason why I mentioned culture, is because a teacher in our context is more than somebody who teaches geography or history or English. Sante, you saw it when you went to the Frederick Smith School. Joy, you saw it. Those children turn to the teachers. I watched Tony Moore this afternoon when she got to the microphone and looked at Richard, Mr. Carter. Sir? And she immediately straightened her back and said, sir? And then, same thing with Ryan Strawn. Why? Because the two of them were your students, Richard. And if we begin to understand that in our context, teaching is more than just the subject, but it is almost raising that child, in many instances where the child is not getting it from home, the one person they're relying on, even before the preacher, is the teacher. And we have to appreciate that in our context when we start to make the decisions. And I'm sensitive to all that I'm hearing, and Cabinet will make the decisions tomorrow, believe you me. Two, if we don't have people pumping gas, we got problems for nurses to get to the hospital. If the nurses and the doctors not at the hospital, we have problems for people who are sick. And I don't only mean COVID-19 sick, I mean normal sickness. If the police not out there taking care of the law and order issues, people could seek to profit. I already saw stuff going around on social media about people trying to masquerade as health persons to try and get into people's properties. Almost every category of worker is essential at this stage. And if, as the governor of New York pointed out, what happens to the teachers, what happens to the children, of those people, the policemen, the nurses, the doctors, the gas station workers, the supermarket workers, all of the people that we are relying on And the reason why we work as hard as we are talking to as many people as we're talking in as short a space as possible, the success of Barbados comes from being able to work together and to close the circle. I'm hearing you, and I'm hearing that of all the things that lie before us too, those who have exams to sit, they are on the front line of the educational sector. And to that extent, therefore, whether it is Common Entrance, CXE, CSEC, CATE, we have first in the hierarchy of treatment to ensure that those children do not lose a whole year. And in some instances, a whole year can make the difference between who is working next year and who isn't this year, who is alive next year and who isn't this year. There's a whole host of other things. If they go and get somebody pregnant, what happens to their life if they get pregnant themselves? It's a whole host of other things. And therefore, I want all of Barbados and all of the teaching profession in particular to know, Santi, as we discussed and as you represented to me, we are going to be very measured in our decisions, but we can't divorce ourselves from our culture. I have to also say that we are in danger of only speaking about the losses that we will face from COVID without remembering that our objective in life is to deal with the losses, period. And whether the losses come from crime, whether the losses come from social implosion, whether the losses come from a car accident, whether the losses come from normal sickness, whether the losses come from COVID-19, we have a duty to protect and to ensure that we minimize it. And that, more than anything else, is going to require balance. So I say that for what it is worth, those 3 points. And the last point I'll make is this. I don't have children, but I have 4 nieces. And I've watched them grow. And I've seen them and others with my godchildren. Children panic when adults panic. The one thing the adults of this country have to do is not only to be strong, not to panic, but also spend time talking now to the children and talk through these issues with the children. They understand a lot more than we think. In fact, I've had conversations with some 5-year-olds and 4-year-olds and 6-year-olds recently that blow my mind. And I'm satisfied that every generation really is producing and learning at a more rapid rate. But we need to talk with them, and we need not to panic. And those of us who are adults around children, I understand it. As for the teachers, I understand the issues. And that's why, once again with Santi, I've said that those teachers who are particularly vulnerable, if you're an asthmatic, if you are chronic diabetic that is out of control, whether you're a teacher or a public servant, I'm saying to you, just bring the letters from your doctors and we will bear that in mind and get it through. There was a time when Barbados did not have enough qualified teachers and we had pupil teachers. If we have, in some instances, to put elderly, older students to help us if a school loses 5 or 10 teachers to be able to help manage the process, then we'll have to do it. These are not normal times. But what I don't want, for some children that school meal is the only meal that that child can have for the day. In some instances, that hug from that teacher that they would have gotten, which they can't get now. But that smile and that kind word and that sense of reinforcement is the difference between whether a child stays on the straight and narrow or a child ends up off on the block. And I know that this is not a perfect world. Jan know that I would like to turn back the clocks. I would like this to be time tunnel. But it is not. And when you look back and see that your grandparents and your great-grandparents had to make decisions about who could go to school and who could learn and who had to go to war and who had to be on the front line of other things, understand that thus far we've really lived a blessed life, a charmed existence. And this is our time now to lift some weight. But I have every confidence that the majority of Barbadian teachers will understand, and we also are listening. Santia has already started talking to me about some things, but I want us to go to cabinet tomorrow. But if we shut everything down just purely because others are shutting down, many of you know Rudyard Kipling better than me because you know more of his poems than me. But go and read If again. If we can keep our heads while all others around us are losing theirs, let us do the right thing according to our culture and according to who we are. Okay? And I say that for now. I don't know if there's anything else you want me to answer, but Santi, I came here. Joy, I came here because Barbadians must know that we are not going to let anybody walk alone. And if we got to work 18, 20 hours a day to help carry this country, then we are going to meet and talk with as many people as possible. Because when you talk with them and when we share what we know, then we begin to understand, yes, the rest of the world is panicking, and with good cause, because something has happened. But you can't keep panicking. There is no end date. If we knew an end date this afternoon, this discussion would be 1,000 times easier. We don't know whether we're talking about 6 months, 9 months, 12 months with respect to a vaccine. We don't know whether we're talking about 3 months. Pretty much we know it is likely to be longer than 6 months, even in terms of us just being able to access things. And we do know that we need social distance. We do know that we need things so that even when we have the schools, there are ways of having meetings. We just had meetings with people and we kept the chairs, Richard, what? 3 feet apart, 4 feet apart. There were people who were being very appropriate even with respect to the microphone and staying sufficiently far to be able to speak. If you pretend in your head that everyone you talk to has it and you have it, then you're going to keep your distance. And it is almost like being in a gym. I remember Sakitin, holy belly in, holy core in, holy belly in. And it's hard, but that is what is required of us. It is better, I suppose, than if we were facing a real war. So we'll listen, but I'll listen to a few more while I'm here.
Let me just thank you, Prime Minister. I don't know how you do it so that you are in so many places and still find the time to actually come to this session, but I think it's almost as though you have listened to all of what we've said with a different ear.
Not quite, but what I will say to you is that, look, I get it. I get people being anxious, but I trust me, we have to hold each other up at this time. And if we don't do it, and one side lets down the side, then the police can ask, what are you doing this for? And then if the police let down the side, the nurses can ask, what are you doing this for? This is all of us got to be in this. And that's why you ask how I'm doing it, is adrenaline. All of us got to be in this. Tonight is the parliamentary party, by the way.
That's right. I know. And that's the thing. It always comes down to leadership, because the leadership we have right now is such that has to trickle down to cabinet. It has to trickle down to the czar. It has to trickle down to the medical profession, education, the principals, the teachers, the police, everybody. We are in this together.
And the teachers are our first leaders of our children. The teachers are the ones. Look, I still remember the things that Mr. Prasad told me. I still remember the things that Ms. Cummins told me, Joy. I still remember that she almost sent me a detention for a rubber band and for talking out of order. You understand? I still remember what Mrs. Carrington, who looks amazing at 102, 101. So teachers are the one persons in our life who we will always remember. We don't remember them because they taught geography or maths or English. We remember them because of how they made us feel and how they made us believe that we could do anything and be anything, and how they corrected us when we were wrong too.